If we want to graph this inequality, you want to start off by graphing this as if it was an equal sign. So I'm going to pretend for a moment that this is x plus 3y equal to -1. To graph a line, one of the methods is to plot 2 points and connect the dots. So if I want to find a couple of points, I'm going to let the x be some number. You can let that be anything you want. I chose 0. If I use 0, I'm going to substitute 0 in for the x value there. 0 plus 3y is just 3y. To get rid of multiply by 3, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so y is going to equal the fraction -1/3. When I substituted in 0, I got out -1/3. So the point that I just found is 0, -1/3. And I'm going to plot that point. Okay, so right or left 0, down 1/3 is right about there. Okay, I need one more point, so I need to pick an x. You can pick any number you want. I went with 5. So I grab my original. I'm going to replace the x there with 5. So substituting in 5. Get y by itself. To get rid of this +5, I'm going to subtract 5. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So I end up with 3y equaling -1 minus 5 is -6. To finish getting y by itself, I'll divide by 3. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Y is by itself, and -6 divided by 3 is -2. So we've just created a point. I selected 5 and I got out -2. So plotting one more point, right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 2 is right about there. Now I'm ready to draw my line, and you need to make a decision if the line that you draw is a solid line or a dashed line. Because there's an underline, my line is going to be solid. But keep in mind, if this would not have been underlined, then I would need to make that a dashed line. Okay, but I'm going to keep it a solid line. My last step is to decide if I should shade above or below. This is where you want to be careful, if you know the trick, that when you have a greater than symbol, you think, oh, I'm going to shade up. That shortcut only works when the original inequality has y by itself. Now, I know ahead of time that coincidentally this one is going to shade up, but please make sure you don't misapply that shortcut. We need to test a point to make the decision where to shade. I can pick any point that's clearly above or below this line. So I'm going to test the point 1, 3. You could pick any point you want. So in testing that point, I grab my original inequality. Then I'm going to replace the x. Whoops, my bad. Try this again. Oh, I'm having a hard time here. I'll just redraw that. I'm going to replace the x with 1, and then I'm going to replace the y with 3. Simplifying, 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 plus 9 is 10. And then decide, is that true? 10 is greater than or equal to -1. That's true. So the significance is that we want to make sure we shade to include the point 1, 3, since it made it true. If we would have gotten false, We don't want to include that point, and we would shade away from it. To shade to include it though, we're going to end up shading above, and notice 1, 3 is a part of the shaded. The significance of all of the points that are on the line and above the line is every one of those points makes the original inequality true.